despite driving that flagship number 11 car, still looking for that first win. He's come close several times, came close Friday night, but are you surprised that we're still talking about him searching that first win at Kaulig?
No, I'm not actually. And I take this from a different angle because I don't think the 11 car at Kaulig it's no longer the flagship entry. I think there's been a paradigm shift here. We've got where even though he's not in there full time, all of a sudden it's the 16 that gets the spotlight. It's the 10 that gets the spotlight, and it's Chandler Smith and the guys like that have been getting the attention. And I think Daniel Hemric's kind of been left out in the dust there at Kaulig. When your only win came from your championship race at Phoenix, where you did what you had to do to take the championship at the very end. We talked about that for a long time. He's not really around much, like on TV. He doesn't get up to the front very often, and so it's kind of hard to speak about him. And I'll read the stat: 5 top 10s. Oh, excuse me, 5 top 5s, 12 top 10s, only DNF twice. That's the same as Sheldon Creed. So, and Sheldon Creed's stats are actually awfully similar to Daniel Hemric's, although we've seen Sheldon Creed kind of up front in the pack a lot more, it seems, than we have Hemric. But that's just been from my eyes. I remember some of the DNFs from Hemric kind of more this year than finishing well.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we have different definitions of flagship. When I think flagship car, I think that's the number that's most associated with that team and their history. So, for example,
I guess, with history, yeah.
So you could say, like, I think Slapshoes mentioned this in one of his Mark Martin videos. The 5 car was and is still the flagship number of Hemric Motorsports. That's the number that was associated with that team when they first started out.
Yeah.
And despite all the success that Jeff Gordon had in the 24, Jimmy Johnson had in the 48, the 5 even going away for a few years after Chase Elliott came up into the Cup Series and they brought the 9 back for him. You think of Hemric Motorsports, you think of that 5 car as being most attached for the longest of that team's history. Obviously, that's the case with the 11 team at Kaulig Racing, and then the 10 team came along, and then the 16 team being that 3rd car. And obviously, AJ Allmendinger elevated that 16 car and did some great things with that team, winning a couple regular season championships. Arguably should have at least been in the Final Four last year, made a Final Four the year before that. The 10 car now, I guess you can call it the all-star car with all the Cup drivers that we've seen in there and a couple of other drivers getting their opportunities to run part-time in that car. Chandler Smith does have a win this year in that 16 as well. But I still think when I think of Kaulig Racing, I think of their main car. I think of the car that started that program that is now expanded to 2 teams in the Cup Series as well. I think of that 11 team. And it's a little bit surprising to me that Daniel Hemric still has not found victory lane with that team. I feel like AJ Allmendinger maybe made them look a little bit better than they were with the success that he had, particularly in the Xfinity Series. I know he hasn't had quite as much success in the Cup Series side of things now that he's gone full-time there, but obviously picked up a win for that organization before they even had a charter a couple of years ago at the IMS road course. So when you think of the flagship driver, how about this? When you think of the flagship driver for Kaulig, I guess you think AJ Allmendinger at this point. But when you think of the flagship team, the flagship number, particularly in the Xfinity Series where it all began for them, I've still got to go with the 11.
Yeah, it's not too often that I disagree with you, Ben, on this show, but I guess I just look at it from a different perspective. It's like all-time, like when I think of Hemric Motorsports, like sure, Jeff Bodine started it with the 5, but your all-time perspective of their legacy is kind of what I think of as the flagship. I mean, sometimes flagship doesn't mean starting at all, but like big picture, flagship, Hemric Motorsports, it's 24 all day to me. Even though there's been different moments with the other numbers, and like with the 5 even going away for a while, that really hurt. That really hurt me whenever it was gone. I still went back to that Twitter account for the 5 team just to come say hello, kind of in a way. Like I knew I figured they were never coming back still, but it's still like the Casey Kane 5 on there. Like someday they'll return. Someday, But besides that, no. Yeah. It's cool that we actually disagree on something because we usually agree on everything. So I'm kind of impressed.
I'll tell you what. I'll ask you this: why did you pick the 24 over the 48? Does that mean? Does that mean you ranked Jeff Gordon over Jimmy Johnson?
I'm sorry, the 48. Excuse me, I completely forgot.
Which is fine. I know a lot of people do rank Jeff Gordon over.
Yeah.
I mean, if Matthew Owens is in our chat here tonight, I haven't seen him yet, but he would certainly do that.
I instantly
Jeff
forgot.
Gordon fans out there would do that, but I was just curious why you went there instead of with the 48 with Jimmy.
I don't know. I instantly forgot 7 championships. So that was weird. So forget that. Yeah.
Maybe the flagship of the 90s would be the 24. The flagship of the 2000s would be the 48. And then I guess it's up in the air. I mean, Elliott got a championship in the 9 and Larson got a championship in the 5.
Yeah. That sounds
maybe
right.
it's up for grabs between those two. But when I think flagship, I think where it all began and more of the historical, like Venturini, for example, the 25 team. I think I feel like that's kind of when I think Venturini's main car, I think of a 25, even though obviously Jesse loves running away with the championship this year in the 20, and that number's had a lot of success too. I still think of the 25 first. That's what I think of when it comes to flagship.
If it makes you feel better, when I think of Roush, I think of 6. So but that is the flagship. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, but then that number went away for a little while too.
Yeah, it did.